Hello, my name is Tanner Russell. This is for CIS 476, taught by Dr. Watson. This is React Native. React Native is a mobile app software. It's really groundbreaking, really intriguing, really interesting. I'm going to break down just a little bit about React Native, as well as show you a demo game that I made in React Native. So, about React Native, really it's revolutionary software for app development. It's revolutionary in the fact that it's cross-platform, as you see down there. So you can write for both iOS and Android, and it will function efficiently and the same. And I know it's a really big problem now, just because Apple is very stingy with their app development software, and it's much harder to code and write apps for iPhones than it is for Android. And iPhone, though it captures a small percentage of the market compared to Android phones, it's still it's very popular, very productive, as you know. So we know Apple's very profitable, but React Native kind of breaks down those walls and just allows for cross-platform app development, and it's really awesome. So it's written in JavaScript. It's a native development. So JavaScript is the main language, so it makes it easy for coders to understand and be able to work through. So it's not a new language that's hard or confusing. It's JavaScript, which is very basic for app development. And really big cool feature of React Native is the fast refresh. So you can be coding and it'll refresh instantaneously as you're coding and writing. So you can see your errors, see your mistakes, or just see what you're developing as it shows up on the screen. So React Native took really big first steps in 2012. They landed Facebook, and a lot of other big companies now use React Native. I can show you some examples, but Facebook, Instagram, Tesla, Discord, a lot. Those are the apps that are using React Native for their mobile app development. So very big names are using React Native, so it's become very popular. As you see that quote from Mark Zuckerberg, the biggest mistake we made as a company was betting too much on HTML as opposed to native. So we all know HTML is the native language for web development, but it can be much harder, much more complex for web and app development due to just the differentiations between desktops, UIs, and smartphone UIs. So now we'll jump over to the code. So this is Expo. Expo is a really great software, really great website that allows you to code in your React Native, but you also have a side-by-side right here of what the app looks like, and as you're updating it, it's just an instance of that fast refresh. So I'm going to kind of break down the code. I know it's a lot, so just bear with me if you're kind of confused. So I'm just going to break down each section and hopefully help you understand that. So at the top, as in a lot of your JavaScript, you have your import statements. So we've imported React, we've imported, tap right here. We've imported our style sheet, text, view, touchable opacity, which I'll get to that, in alert, and button. These are all from the React Native database, and so we're just importing it in from React Native to be able to use it. And same for icons. Material community icons are the icons that we're going to use for the X's and O's. So as you can see, I've made tic-tac-toe here. I'm going to break that down and just show you what each code is supposed to mean. So beginning into the JavaScript, we have our constructor called constructor props, and we super that just to get the information that we need. So this.state equals game state. So what we've set the tic-tac-toe as is just a two-dimensional matrix, and these zeros are what holding the values currently. There's nothing in them. Current player is 1, which means we've set our current player to player 1. We're always going to have X go first for player 1. Component did mount, this method, this.initialize game. So this just initializes the game as we get up there. So I'm calling all these methods here, and once we get down here, we'll show what the methods are. So I'm just calling them here at the beginning. So here's initialize game. right underneath. This.setState game state. So we set the set state of the game state. So this is basically clearing the board for the tic-tac-toe and setting current player to 1. So on new game press, this dot initialize game. So new game press is right here. So this is calling for the button function. So once you hit new game, it's just going to clear the board and start a new game. Render icon. And so we're setting rows and columns. See, this takes in a row and a column. So we have rows and columns for the matrix of the tic-tac-toe board. Excuse me. So we have our switch value, switch case scenario. So we've set 1 to X and -1 to 0. So when it says case 1, that means it's an X. Case -1 is a circle. So here we have the comment, returns 1 if player 1 -1 if player 2 1, or 0 if no one has 1. So this is get winner. So what we're doing in get winner is we're adding, just remember, like I said, it's a matrix. So X is 1, 0 is -1. So we're adding across, keeping track, and we're looping through the matrix right here. And we see that if down or horizontal or even diagonal, if it equals to 3 for X, then it will say that player 1 is the winner. So you see we have our alert, player 1 is the winner. That's for the X's. For the O's, we can do the same thing. Equals -3, player 2 is the winner. So all that right here, we're checking our rows, checking our columns, and we're checking our diagonals as you would when you normally play tic-tac-toe. So this is just the math behind it that we're checking everything out. So we're creating a sum variable, adding all the sums of the -1s, the 1s together, and if they equal 3, they return 1, else if they equal -3, return -1. And that's just this method of getting the winner. So now we get to the on tile press. So what this is, the tile press, these are the tiles that we're seeing for the UI. So it's basically just handling the clicking for the X's and the O's. So very simple to understand and to explain. So it's also doesn't allow the tiles to change, so I can't like click X and then swap it to an O. Set the correct tile. So we're setting the correct tile, obviously, if it's clicking on it, making sure that's the correct tile that we've clicked. And then down here, checking for winners. So if, like we said in the math, if it adds up to -3, then we'll return 1. If winner equals 1, obviously we alert, which when we imported the alert at the top, this is what alert is. It just flashes across the screen, just like this. It just creates the alert on your phone. So this is simulating what it'll look like on your phone as you play it. And then player 2 is the winner, same as that, and you initialize game. After you click OK on the alert, it resets the board. So render, return, this is all of the styling and just the setting up of the actual matrix. So what all of this big chunk of code is doing in here is setting views. So it allows you, as in the name, to view it on the screen. So it's setting up, this is naturally just a box, a big box, but we've gone in here and we've setting the styles to setting the borders for the top left, the top, and the top right, and vice versa for all of these. We're setting them to 0, so that way we're taking out the rest of the borders, and it looks like a hashtag for the border style. So that's all it's doing, and it's setting it in the perspective rows and columns, as you see in here. And then this is just adding some padding to the top and a button to this button for the new game. This is what the new game button does. So we imported button at the top, and here we're using it right here. And once you click the button new game on press, it's on new game press, which clears the board. So now we get to our styles. As a normal JavaScript, we have our style sheet.create, we have our container. This is just setting the background. It's aligning all the items to the center and justifying our content to the center as well, just for the styling purposes. Our tiles are border width, so it's setting the width of the borders for the hashtag and aligning the items in the center. So this aligns the X's and the O's in the center. This aligns the hashtag in the center. Tile X, that's just setting the style. So we made it red, and we set the size for it as well. And for O, we're setting the color and the size of it. So, but that's about it. Expo is really cool. You can download the app, and it'll allow you to, as you're typing this code, you can run it on your phone simultaneously, and it'll update just as it's simulating right here, but you'll be actually doing it from your smartphone. So it's really cool. Expo is really, really great tool and software that's been developed and that React Native is using. So it's really cool overall. So thank you for tuning in, and hope you have a good day.